it's okay if you don't vibe with, not that you don't like them, but it's okay if you don't like vibe. It's like with the amount of girls that are on a team, say there's like, I don't know, like 20 girls on the team, not everyone's going to just click and be buddies. And like,
Yeah.
that's absolutely normal. And I also find like, for me, it's like, it's okay too if like you're just kind of in that season with yourself where maybe like you're just kind of focusing on your family and your kids and you're just kind of in your own little bubble. And like, that's okay. Like, I feel like right now that's where I'm at. And like,
You're listening to Breaking the Ice podcast, a podcast that I created in 2020 to connect women within the hockey world. My name's Devin Dodaro, my husband's Charlie Dodaro, and we've played literally all over the world. We have 2 kids, 2 dogs, and let's just say hockey has taken my world by storm. What I've learned is that this community and these experiences are very specific, and you should not have to go through this alone. Through this podcast, I share the tools, resources, do's, don'ts, and what's helped me along the way while continuing to learn from each and every one of you. So lace them up and tune in for episodes twice a month. And make sure to follow the page on Instagram at Breaking the Ice Pod. Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. I'm currently sitting in my parents' closet in their bedroom recording this intro. Just got my kids down for the night and popping on here to chat for a few. So before we get into today's episode, I just have to say I'm so excited to be bringing more content your way. There's some super exciting things happening behind the scenes. I cannot wait to share with you soon what I've had going on. So stay tuned for that. And as always, I love hearing from you guys. So if there's any guests or topics that you want to hear about, my DMs are always open. This podcast is for you, and I want to keep bringing you conversations that actually matter in this lifestyle. One of the biggest parts of this life is moving, whether it's like to a new city, a new country, or even just temporarily living somewhere for a certain part of the season or the off season. And honestly, no matter how many times you do it, there's always this adjustment period. All of the struggles and challenges, it's kind of this universal experience that we all have. And I think that's why so many of us can connect on such a deep level, because really, like us in this lifestyle, we get it. Something that we touch on in this episode is friendships. And I have seen so many people sharing that they feel left out or they feel like they're just not clicking with people on their team. And I just want to say that I, over the years, have also felt like that too on various teams. And even though I have been in this lifestyle for a while, I still have moments where I question if I'm fitting in or like connecting with people in the way that I want to. And to be honest, it is hard to talk about sometimes, especially in season, because it does feel really vulnerable. And I do think a lot of us struggle with this, and it's not really something that's openly talked about. And the thing is, it's not always about like the people that are around you. It's sometimes just simply the nature of this lifestyle. Like we're constantly moving in and out of different teams, and sometimes no matter how hard you try, like you just sometimes don't really click with a group, and that's okay. So I wanted to share this because if you are feeling this way, I want you to know that you're not alone, and it doesn't mean that something's wrong with you or you're doing something wrong. And sometimes it's just like the reality of living in a world where everything changes so fast. And if you really think about it, like you're moving teams, and a lot of us, like we're not re-signing on these same teams. So you make these connections or not, and you turn around and you have to do it all again. I'm really excited for today's episode with Kris Mueller. She's Canadian. She's married to a Swiss hockey player. They have built this life in Switzerland, and she had her kids abroad. She's navigated all of these challenges, adjusting to a new country. And we get into what it's really like to raise a family in a different culture. And we also talk about the differences between playing in the NHL and in the Swiss league. So her and her husband played in the NHL for several years. And because he is Swiss, they were offered an opportunity that they couldn't pass up. And so they made the move over to Switzerland. And I've had a lot of girls that, you know, do play in North America that often are kind of in that in between where they might be deciding to go abroad or not. And so I was really excited to chat with her about that. And we also get into how to find your people when you're living somewhere new. So we openly discuss, you know, how it can be sometimes difficult with the different dynamics. I don't want to give too much away of this episode because it's just so good. But if you've ever felt like you don't fit in, or you're struggling to adjust to a different lifestyle, or you're just simply curious about what life looks like in Europe, I really think you're going to love this conversation. If you are listening today, I would really love it if you would post any little clip either from my Instagram or from Kris's quotes to your stories, or even just simply like what you're doing while you're listening, where you're listening from, and tagging the podcast page. I love to see this. I love to reshare them. It just really helps me promote the episode and promote my amazing guests that I have on the podcast. So I always very much so appreciate it. So enjoy this episode. It's a great one, and cannot wait to bring you guys more content very soon.
Second one is now he's like just about to be 6 months, but even then, like 6 months is young.
He's already gonna be 6 months.
I know, like that's crazy, right?
That is wild. That went by really, I mean, probably not for you, but for me.
No, it has.
No,
it has. It's gone by really, really fast, but it's still so wild to think that he's 6 months old, and like my brother hasn't met him, my dad hasn't met him. Like it's so crazy. Like none of my best friends from home, obviously, like, well, one of my best friends has, but the rest, it's like so bizarre that I have like a full on 6 month old that like majority of my like circle hasn't met yet. It's like that part is like super bizarre. But back to the babysitter thing, I think it's just still like a little bit too young to
feel comfortable.
To get, yeah, like I think maybe next year, when he's like 1, and you know, like then I'll probably be a bit more comfortable, because it's like even right now when to like put him down to bed, it's like you got to put him on his tummy, and then you got to give him his soother this way or he'll spit it out. Like there's so many little steps that I'm like, they're not gonna know this, that I'm like, no, it's not. It's okay.
I know. It's kind of like a sad feeling in a way looking back, because the newborn stage, as challenging as it can be in certain ways, it's like it's such like a fun age for like people to come and meet your baby, and like they're so tiny and cute, and like you just went through this big life change, and then it's like no one meets them till they're like mobile, and then it's like so weird, like all this time has passed, and it's like I don't know, it's just different. Like I can't explain it, but it's a little bit sad looking back, because you're like, oh, I wish I had people meet them when they were that small.
I know, because it was kind of the same with Ozzy too. We had that because he was born end of May, so it was like prime off season. So we got to, you know, like all of my close friends in Vancouver got to meet him, but then it was just like, okay, see ya.
Yeah.
See ya in like 9 months. Like, you know what I mean?
No,
so that part too. It's like, it's hard because I was trying to actually think, I'm like, what's better having a baby? Because now I've had one in the summer, and then I've had one in the season. And it's like, I'm like, I feel like summer. I feel like mid-season babies that was like a bit of a grind. I was like, ugh. Like looking back, like I was in the trenches because he had colic too. And my first didn't at all. So I was like, what is happening?
Okay. So did Ozzy's your older one, right?
Yeah. And then Bodhi's.
So was he born in Canada?
Yeah, so he was born in Canada, but it was so weird because my whole pregnancy was in Switzerland. And then I flew home 32 weeks or 33 weeks and then had Ozzy. And then Bodhi was like literally basically the opposite. Like majority of my pregnancy was in Canada. And then I flew back to Switzerland again at 33 weeks and then had Bodhi here.
Wow.
So it was like total opposite. It was kind of crazy.
Well, let's just dive in, because I clicked record and I'll chop out stuff, but just to kind of get into it. But we'll talk about that too, because like I said, there's so many people that go through their whole pregnancy and then it's like they move abroad or somewhere else, and then it's like they have to get established with new doctors and like
Yeah.
it can be so stressful and overwhelming. But to back up a little bit, will you just introduce yourself for people that are listening and kind of just explain what your situation is with you and your husband being from different places, where you're living, and just a little bit of like backstory, and then we'll just kind of like go into all of our fun topics that we have.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Kristen Mueller, and I'm married to Mirco Mueller, who is a Swiss player. He used to play in like North America, obviously, for a couple teams, and that's when we met. And we were together for about 6 years when we were still in the States. And then COVID hit, and he ended up not really finding anything that was working for him over there, and then re-signed back in Switzerland. So now we've been here. This is our 4th season here in Lugano. Really
and this is not his hometown, but he's from Switzerland.
Yeah, so he's from the Zurich area and we're in Lugano. So he lived, like, we're roughly like 2.5 hours away from his hometown. So that's where his parents are and whatnot. So it's kind of funny because like we are in his hometown or home country. It's like we're still kind of away from everybody else.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I feel like in North America, it's like, oh, 2 hours away is nothing. Like It seems like it's not a stretch. But here, because Switzerland's so small, 2 hours away is actually kind of far. So we don't see them that often. They come like once a month, maybe every like 6 weeks or whatnot. So for the most part, we're kind of
okay. Yeah. Like, so you're still very much living like the expat life that so many of us are living, and not near family and not near your support system, and just packing up and moving there. And you guys wound up building a house in Switzerland and live there pretty much most of the year then?
Yeah. So when he did sign, I think that was like kind of a big thing that was super appealing to coming back to Switzerland, because when he did get a deal offered, it was a 6-year deal. And I think that just kind of made us be like, oh my gosh, stability. Like it's not like 1 year, a 2-year. Like we were like, this is awesome. It's 6 years. And obviously I don't think he was expecting to go back to Switzerland as early as he did. Like in hindsight, like we were thinking Switzerland was more going to be like something kind of towards the end of his career, where when he came over here, how old was Mirco? So Mirco just turned 30 like a few days ago, actually. His 30th was recently. And so I think, that was 4 years ago, like literally like 26. So he was not expecting obviously to come over so early. But again, it was fine. Like it wasn't like, oh my gosh, this is awful. Like we were like, you know what, like it could be way worse. We are doing it's fine. And so it was nice, because I think that's what made it appealing to me, is because he was like, we can buy something, we can like pick what we want, we can like, he's like, you can actually get furniture, like it's not going to be stuff like Wayfair and Target. And I was just like, okay, like I feel like that was like bait for me, where I was like, yay, okay, let's go. Like, I was excited for that. So that was kind of nice. And I feel like that definitely makes it a lot easier on me, is the fact that like we get to have a home to live in, which obviously makes a huge difference. But then it's a bit of a unique situation, because it's like I'm not an expat because he's not an import, but because he played like junior over in the States for so long, like he had been playing in the States since he was like 16. So for him, he knows a lot more. He obviously knows a lot of Swiss players, but he also knows a lot of North American players. So it's kind of funny, because with his spot, I find he's kind of like an import, but not an import. Like he's like a bit of a hybrid. So it makes me a bit of a hybrid, but then I'm like not. Like I feel so bad, because I find when I think you would assume that I would be a little bit more like mixed into like Swiss culture, but it's like I'm still very much like kind of like an import here. But it's like, okay, it's year 4. Like you would assume that I would like be a little bit more
like
mixed into it. But it's hard. It's kind of hard to get into it when you're not
Well, I think like my interpretation of an expat is just someone that like is living away from home in a different area or country. Like I don't know necessarily, like I know there's like more specific definitions of it, but like you're kind of just like picked up and moving somewhere completely different. You're not from there, and even though your husband is Swiss, like that, it's still a completely different culture. Like they speak a different language there, like it's a different lifestyle. And also just like being a mom and living away from home is a different challenge as well, trying to find your footing. But going back to like when he was playing in North America, were you guys kind of hopping around a lot and like not really having a lot of stability, or how did that look for you guys?
So he was pretty lucky in that aspect too, because when we first got together, we were pretty like we were still babies. He was 19 and I'm a year older than him, so I was 20. And that's when so he's played for the Sharks and then he's played for New Jersey. He's just played for those two teams.
Oh, nice. Okay.
He did 3 years in San Jose. I'm like, why can't I think of it? In San Jose. And then 3 years in Jersey. So it was kind of nice. We didn't like, it wasn't necessarily like we were bouncing around, because I know that there's some couples and some families that like you have to get traded like whatever, and they bounce around to a lot of teams. So
Yeah.
I'm very thankful that we didn't have to do that. And even when he did get traded, we were so lucky it was in the off season. So it was like a very clean transition.
Nice.
And then the year that we did get traded to Jersey, it was almost like a rebuild year where there was like almost like, I want to say like 70% of the team was brand new. So it was like everybody was meeting each other. So it was kind of easy to like kind of like dive in there. But yeah, in that aspect, like we were pretty lucky for that compared to other people that have had to bounce around.
I love this conversation too about like playing in the NHL to making the move over to Europe, because there's a lot of families in the NHL that have talked about, like you said, okay, maybe towards the end of our career, we'll head over to Europe, we'll finish it that way. Or they're not really finding that stability in that league and they're thinking about it now. Like I get messages like, what are the best leagues to play in? Or things like that. And obviously Switzerland is like a dream league to play in. They don't take very many imports, if you're not native to the country. But what do those conversations look like for you guys about going over to Switzerland? Like, were you excited about the idea? I mean, this was probably pre-kids too, so maybe it was a little bit different perspective at that point.
I'm not even gonna lie. I feel like when it first was a conversation, I was kind of like, like, I was like, what do you mean? We're gonna go to no, what? Like I was kind of like, oh God, but my family, like my friends, like I kind of was a little bit like, because I don't know. So the way our year would go is that like Mirco, we would obviously be where Mirco plays, and then when the season was over, we would go to Switzerland. Would go with him for like a little, like probably about a month, and then I would go back to Vancouver.
Okay.
And then eventually he would come to Vancouver kind of towards the end. So we would kind of keep like a little under a month. We would stay apart. Like we would be apart, where I would see my friends, he would see his, and whatever.
Right.
And I found, I think I was a little bit intimidated at first when he was thinking of coming back to Switzerland, because when I would come and visit him in Switzerland, it wasn't that I was like, oh, I don't like it here, whatever. It's just a different culture. It's just different. I'm sure you know when you're in Europe, it's like Europeans just have a little bit of a different vibe with things. And I feel like Americans and Canadians, like we're so like chatty and warm and we'll welcome anybody. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, I remember we would go out to the bars and like, again, pre-kids. And like, I would go out with him and his friends, but like there would never really be any girls around really, because like some of his friends at the time like didn't have girlfriends and stuff, so I was kind of the only girl. But I'm like so social that I would try to like make friends. When you go to like the bathroom, be like, oh my God, and you try and have chat. I would go to the bathroom after like a couple drinks and be like, so, and like girls would look at me like maybe not you, but they would kind of like just be like that's not a thing here. And so I felt like
you got to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like normally like you have those chats where I feel like, I mean, I don't know what it's like now, because now I'm like an old lady. I don't go to the bars, but like at the time, I feel like that's kind of how I thought. Like I would try to make friends with girls when we would go out, and Mirko would explain it to me. He's like, it's not really like that though. Here it's kind of like you go out with your friend group and you kind of stick with your friend group, like whether it's like your friends that you go to school with or your friends that you work with, and it's not as common to kind of intermix and socialize. And I would notice it was like little groups and like nobody would mingle. Like it was giving like middle school dance, like when they like wouldn't, like I'm like, what in here? This is so weird.
Yeah, and honestly, like Europeans can be like some of the nicest people, like once they let you in and get to know you. But I will agree with that. Like I think on the surface, like everybody is very reserved and like not super like, and I think it's like a culture thing. Like not saying they're not friendly people, but like
no,
it's just a different culture. And I think that's something that is a struggle for, North Americans coming over to Europe sometimes. With kids' play places that I go to or something, like I'll try to be like, make a comment, and sometimes they'll just be like, yep, and like not give me anything back. And I'm just like, okay, well, was trying to like, see if we vibe there, but obviously this is a little not happening.
You're like, I didn't just talk myself up to finally say something to you, and now I finally did, and then you shut me down. So now I'm just probably going to think about this for about freaking 10 hours. Like,
yeah.
Like that's like me. It's like going to play in my head where I'm
Yes.
like, why did I even say anything? Like, no.
Exactly.
I feel like that. And it's like what you said, like it's not like they're not nice or anything like that. It's just a different culture completely. So I felt like when Mirco was like thinking of coming back, I felt like I definitely had like a little panic in me where I was like, oh my God, like, is this like, it's like usually when you go back, like when you go, it's like you don't come back, like you don't bounce back to the, like that's not really a thing. So like when he was like wanting to be like, okay, I think I should go back. And in hindsight, I also think he like it, because during COVID, like that, it was scary. Like nobody knew what was going on. The league shut down.
Yeah.
No one knew what was going to happen. So I think he was also a bit scared in a sense where he was like, what if like, I don't know, like what if I don't get anything that I'm looking for? So like I have this like this kind of like big pad of like kind of like a security blanket under me that's sitting in Switzerland where they're offering me 6 years. Like it's kind of dumb of me to say no. And then what if I wait here for like, because when we got to Jersey, it was kind of nice because he was on one ways in Jersey. So that kind of like, because in San Jose, he was on two ways because it was his entry level deal.
Okay.
So it did feel like he was like, I don't really want to go back to like the whole two-way thing and then have to like go up and like when he kind of finally got out, not finally, because there's, sometimes that can be a bit of a grind, but when he like kind of got out of that, he was like, do I really want to go back into that? Which I honestly supported. And I was like, no, I understand. Cause like, and we were lucky in San Jose because the minor team was in the same city. So it's like, it wasn't this, if we got sent down, it really wasn't a big deal. We didn't have to like leave our apartment or whatever. It wasn't that big of a deal, where that's not the case for some teams. You get sent down. It's like, well, great, I'm going to like a totally different area. Like I have to like literally pack up and go. And so, we obviously kind of thought about that and thought about like the big picture of it all. And it was like, what's the most like logical thing to do? And I think with him actually being Swiss, he's pretty lucky because like you said, like the import thing is kind of tough. And it was just kind of like, it was a bit of a hard decision for him. And I also, and for me, I feel like looking back, like I was kind of like, oh my God. But I'm glad, like looking back now, I'm glad that he did that because I feel like, like now we have that stability, especially now with kids in the picture. I think it was different before. And now it's like funny because I talked to some of my girlfriends that are still like over in the NHL, and it's like my one girlfriend's like, oh my gosh, like it's been like 9 days where they've been gone. And I'm like, no, I could never, like Mirco, they don't go overnight here, which is amazing. Like they sometimes the odd time, because like we're in the south, so the furthest team is like Geneva, so sometimes the odd time they'll go the night before, but that's like rare. That's like not common. So like when that happens, it's so funny. I'm like, oh my God, like I'm a solo parent. Meanwhile, I see like some of my girlfriends over there. I'm like, frick, like like you guys got it way harder. Like there's no way I could do that.
No. And I think, like you said, just being able to look at like the long term, like 6 years to sign a contract in Europe, I feel like is like not common. Like I feel like most people, I mean, I don't know about if you are not considered an import, if that's like more common, but I've never heard of a contract that long overseas. So that's like really, I don't blame you for taking that, but I also could see how that would be like a hard decision for him, because I think like every hockey player's dream is to play in the NHL, right? And I think like when you start to question like, okay, am I gonna be doing the whole grind of it for years and years? Like, do I pass up this opportunity, or do I, like it's a big decision. But like you said, now with kids, it's probably the right move. And now that you have 2 kids under 2 and just being able to stay in one place for an extended period of time.
Obviously there is times where I'm like, oh, like it would just be so nice to be in North America and like have my mom, for instance, like the longest flight away she could be is like maybe 5 hours. Like that's nothing. Like that would just be nice. Like I think of that stuff. If he didn't, who knows what would have happened? But if he didn't, it's like maybe we were still like, maybe it was a situation where he was up and down and I was like in one city with the kids and he was in another because he got sent down or he got called up, or you know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah.
there's so many different ways it could have went, but like looking back, I think that it was like the best decision for us to do that and to do what he did. Even though I'm like very much, like I always say this to my girlfriends, I'm like, I'm very much like a North American girl.
Yeah.
I'm not like, you know, because like some of my friends are like, oh my gosh, like you're so lucky you get to like live in Switzerland and you're like in the center of like all these places in Europe. And like sometimes I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm like the same though. I totally can relate to you. I'm just like, I do this because I support my husband, you know, but I think it's also fair to say, and like shit on us if you will, but like I think it's normal to want to live where you're from, where you're familiar with, where your family is, where your friends
Literally.
are. Like that's normal to feel that way, and I just like want to
Absolutely.
normalize that because people feel like they always have to be like, this is the best lifestyle ever, and like I love to do this and I love to live abroad, but it's like there's a lot of
No, like,
conversation.
you're allowed to be like, you know, it's like, yeah, okay, cool. Maybe I can go see like a castle one day, but like, guess what I can't do? Go through like a Starbucks freaking drive-through. Like that would be really nice, like to have that, or to go through like a mall where I actually know all the freaking stores. Like I look around and it's like all these random names that I've never heard of, and I'm like, well,
Yeah.
cool, yeah.
No, you have to translate everything, like try to figure out where to go. Like that was such a struggle for me with kids. Like before we were in England was just like, where do I go? Like, what are the kid places here? Where are the rest? I mean, it takes a lot of time and yeah, just having those conversations also about making the move abroad, I feel like can be really stressful on like a couple because like getting to
Yeah.
that decision isn't always just like, oh, I'm going to play abroad. Okay, great. I'm on the same page. Let's go. Like there's so many like aspects of that have to like align for that to happen and sacrifices that have to be made like on our part
Mhm.
for that to even happen in the first place.
100%. No, I agree. Like it is, because it is a massive change. And especially for some people, like obviously I'm sure everyone's close to their families and whatnot, but like I think it was really tough last year. I think what made it the year that I felt like, wow, this is really difficult was when I was pregnant. And not when I was pregnant with my first, because I didn't know yet, like I hadn't had a baby yet. So like I didn't know like what comes with that. And the
Yeah.
crazy thing is my other sister was pregnant with her third the same time I was pregnant with my first, and they're only 3 weeks apart. And so it was tough because it was like we didn't get to spend our pregnancies together like at all. I had to leave at 6 weeks. And so when I left, it was like a death. It was like a literal death. Like when we like the airport, like saying goodbye, like I was hysterical. I cried when I got home for like probably 2 weeks straight. I was like a loony. I literally wore Aussie on me because it was the only thing that made me like feel better. Like I would just like cry because it was such a hard, which was weird because when I was pregnant the year before and then the year before that, like leaving, I was just like, see you guys soon. But for some reason, after having babies, it was just kind of like a big realization where I was like, wow, our kids aren't going to grow up like together as well, maybe like when they're a little bit older, but like right now it's like they're not going to be together all the time. Like
Yeah.
some people get to have that luxury where they get to see their cousins all the time, and I'm like, we don't get to do that, which was a really hard adjustment for me. Like, I think now it's a little bit, I'm more used to it, but with Aussie it was hard. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I've even noticed in the aspect of like coming home and like seeing my parents age, like each time I come back, like I feel like they're getting a little bit older and like just like my nieces and nephews are like getting bigger and I'm just like
Yeah.
it really shows you how quick time goes by. Like I mean, obviously you guys live there more of the year probably than I do. Even 8 months, like packing up, going home, and then like 8 months is a long time. That's almost a year.
It is.
And so like
That's a
doing
real
that year after year after year after year, and your kids are getting older, it's like I don't know, it's hard to like put put it into perspective sometimes, I guess. Like,
yeah.
okay, we're doing this, and like I don't know, I'm kind of rambling, but I think you know what I'm trying to say. Like,
It's true because you want to at the same time, you also want to be like, this is such a short chapter in life. Like in the big picture, the career of like our husbands, like it's really not that long. Even though when you're in the thick of it, it feels like it is, but when you really look at it, it's such a short chapter. So you try your hardest to like take all that in. But then it's hard because I find while I'm in this chapter, I'm like, oh, I can't wait till like this chapter passes because I get to like see my family and my
Right.
kids can grow up with my siblings' kids and this and that. But then sometimes it's just hard because it's like you want a bit of everything. It's hard to kind of like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like it's,
totally.
yeah, like, like it's hard not to like kind of like bitch about one thing, but then not bitch about the other thing. Like it's like,
Yes.
how can, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's hard.
What would you say are the biggest differences between playing in North America and playing in Switzerland? For people that
Um,
might be like trying to decide, to make that move overseas,
right.
whether because, I think a lot of people like that are kind of in between or not quite sure, they do get offers from teams abroad and they're like, do I take this? Do I not? Like, and I'm trying to think of
Yeah.
what things I could tell you, like, are there family rooms? Like, how do they support like family
Yeah.
lifestyle? That kind of thing.
So I will say it is quite different in a sense of like I think it's just different because like now that it's been a couple years I can kind of grasp it now and I can see kind of all angles of it. But when I first came here, I remember I was a little bit like, okay, because I remember when we like joined like when we got to Jersey and that was a new team, it was kind of like you get there and then like there's like a welcome chat and like everybody like introduces them to each like whatever, and there was like a dinner for the girls in the beginning of the year and everybody kind of got together and it was kind of like getting to everyone to mingle. And I find here it's just not so much that way. It's kind of I also think because here, like again, like you said, the imports, there's not that many. So, and then all the other players who are Swiss, it's like their wives and girlfriends, they all live here and they all have their jobs and they all have their careers or their students or their whatever. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
they're not away from anybody really. So I could kind of see maybe in their part as to like why there's not like a welcome text, because if you think about it, like say your husband, I don't know, like just like worked for a company and you're both like in your hometown, like what are you going to send a welcome text to their wife? Like no, you're going to just be like, hey, like it's not going to be this thing,
Right.
because that's like kind of the way I see it now. But when we first got here, I remember I was like, okay, so there's not really it's not really like all the girls, like girls do get together. I'm not saying that that doesn't happen, but
Yeah.
it's like
No, I'm
not as much
following.
as, yeah, like it just wasn't like the NHL in that sense where it was like very organized and there was like organized events and it was like things like through the team. Like now it's
Yes.
like there is things that girls get together, but it's more because like they just communicate with each other and like they plan something and they go for dinner or whatever. But it's not necessarily like something that's kind of like through the team. And
Yeah.
I'm not so sure with the family room situation because every team is different. Like I know some girls on some teams say that there is a room for them, some isn't. For us, it's like it's just like a media room that like we can go in when like the game, like once the media people are out, but that's like kind of it.
Yeah.
We don't
Yeah.
really have that. So we got there, I was like, oh, okay. So there's
Yeah.
that. There's not a room with like dinner for us.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, but
Yeah.
like now
For sure.
looking back, I'm like, whatever, like it's not a big deal. But when it's at first, you're kind of like, oh, this is a little bit different. Okay.
Totally. And I think like these are just details that are good to know too, because if you don't know, you just kind of show up and you're like,
Yeah. Again, I can't speak for other teams. It's just the team that
yeah,
I've been on that like that hasn't really happened. But like
yeah,
I think it's like they just more kind of it's not that they don't focus on the families at all or anything. I just find it's a little bit more they just kind of focus on the players more say. Like but
yeah,
like not in a bad way.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like it's just I don't know. I think it's just because they're not super used to like, I don't know. Like I find with the NHL, it's like it's players from all over and
hmm,
almost everyone's technically like not from the team. Like chances are like anyone being on the team that's from that area, like it's pretty lucky if that is the case. Like that's not
yeah.
common.
No,
So I
totally.
think
I
it's
know what you mean. Like in teams,
yeah.
like I'll use Austria for example. There's always a lot of Austrians on the team, and so many girlfriends or wives that live in Austria are from there. They either live in a different city in Austria or they're like working full time living there, so they're not really as integrated into the group as the imports are, I guess.
Exactly.
And another layer on top of that too that people do not talk about is like moms and non-moms. And I feel like that's kind of an interesting dynamic that I would like to I feel like you're like kind of the perfect person to talk about it. And not in a negative way, but like I feel like there can definitely be a divide with that. And I don't know if you're comfortable like
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. I think, and That is so okay. So for the dynamic here, it makes it a little bit difficult because I wouldn't necessarily say it's like moms and non-moms type of thing. But I think
Yeah.
what's really nice, the girls that are imports here, because that's kind of like mostly the ones that get together.
Yeah.
So specifically, all of the imports, majority of the imports, all live in the same building. Like they all
Mhm.
literally live. So and like it's like on the other side of town. And then like and then like some of us that are I'm trying to think of like who else that with moms. I feel like some of the other moms like we live kind of like spread out. So then I find it also makes it a little bit more difficult because it's like, you know, you try. I mean, I try to take the benefit of the doubt where I'm like, okay, well, you know what? Like they're hanging out because they live in the same building. Like it's
Yeah.
so easy for them to get together because like it's like literally you walk up a couple flight of stairs. Like I get
Yeah.
that. I get that. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna be like they're hanging out without me because like
Right.
this. It's like, but like I will say it does kind of. It's like you said, like it does kind of suck sometimes because like I think maybe they just like assume that I don't like I just like I can't come or something like that, which like to be completely honest, 9 out of 10 times I can't come, but
Yeah.
like I still
Yeah. Okay. Can we normalize that right now? Moms are busy.
like
Yes.
literally
We're with our kids a lot. Yes. But we still want to get the invite. Okay. Like we might
like
be.
still invite me. It's like maybe I've never come to a single invite, but you know what? Still invite me because let me decide if I don't want to go or not.
Exactly.
Because I'm like I'm you know, and it's I think for me specifically, like in my chapter that I'm in, it's like I have like little ones right now, so it is hard for me to get out the door. And I do find like I don't know, sometimes I even kind of like get at myself a little bit where I'm like, maybe I do need to get on finding a sitter and do need to make a little bit of an effort because at the same time, like it does come from two sides. I can't just sit here and be like, they should invite me. And like, even though like I'm making zero effort, it's not that, but it's just like, I don't know, like it is a bit of a mixture
Mhm.
where it is both sides. Cause like I remember back in Jersey, we would go out like us, I don't want to be like the younger girls, but like it was
Yeah.
like we were a little, like we didn't have kids.
Right.
And I never forget this. I remember like I wanted to invite some of the moms, but I was like, is that a dumb thing to do? Like to be like, hey, the guys are, cause at the time, like in Jersey, we lived, it took like 20 minutes to get to New York, like to get into the city. So we would be like, we're going to like, I just felt dumb because, and they would live in the suburbs. So they were like further away. So I didn't want to be like, oh, I'm going to send you a text today at like freaking 1 p.m. being like, hey, we're going to go into the city tonight. Want to come?
Yeah.
At that, I had my older sister had a baby already. So like I wasn't like stupid with how you need childcare. Like I knew you needed time in
Right.
advance. And sometimes we didn't pre-plan things. It would just kind of be like, let's go out tonight. Yeah. And so we wouldn't,
Yeah.
I would feel I didn't want to like annoy them by asking them. And I remember one of the games, it was like after the weekend, whatever, it was like a Tuesday game or something. I don't know what day, but whether or not it was a middle of the week game and we had gone out that weekend. And one of the moms was like, your guys this weekend looked fun. Like, did I like my invite must have got lost? And I was like, oh, fuck. Like
Yeah.
and like I just didn't think you'd want to come. Like honestly, like I did. And she's like, I always want to come. Like if you let me know like at least like a day in advance, like I want to come. And I was like, okay, like fair enough. And then so then we would like if we had pre-planned something like that, I would be like, hey, like we're gonna do this. And sometimes they would come, sometimes they wouldn't. But like here, it's like I'm like you still haven't like you guys haven't like given me enough. Like it would be like we're gonna get dinner before the game, and then it was like, well, I can't do that because you're telling me like right now. I can't just call up, you know what I mean?
Totally know what you mean. I also think it's good for people to like sometimes make it where the moms can come without having to get childcare, like when the husbands are in town. Like on the other hand, I completely understand because before I was a mom, I did not have that mindset of like, oh, how can we make it so the moms can come? Or like it just didn't even occur to me. I'm like, oh, they're busy or oh, they have young kids. But like now that I am in that position, I'm like, dang, like it really does suck sometimes when you know, there's things that you would have gone to if you would have known, but like,
yeah, like totally. Or like when you see, like, I hate when you're like at home and then it's like, it's kind of like you see this like group hang out and like they're all sharing it like on their stories. And then in my mind, I'm like, odd, because that wasn't written in the group. So therefore, there must be a separate group that I am not in.
oh, yes.
Like, cool. Okay.
100%.
Like I try my hardest not to make it personal because I feel like I know it's not like it's not that they're like, oh, we specifically don't hang out with her. Like it's more just like she has two small children. Chances are she can't come, which they're not wrong. Chances are I can't come. But at the same time, it's like that. It's like
Right.
we said, it's like, let me decide. Like, I want to know. I want to figure out if I can come or not, because
Yes.
maybe I will come. Maybe I will figure out a sitter and come for a couple hours. Like, I don't know, but it's like, how am I going to know that if you just don't even say anything to me?
Don't even get me started on the separate group chats. I'm not going to sit here and say I haven't been part of a smaller group chat pre-kids, like way early on in Charlie's career, and that might just come with like experience and like time in the lifestyle, that you just kind of realize that it is actually like, obviously clicks are like, you're going to click with certain people, like clicks are going to happen. That's just like no secret. But I think just generally like trying to be as inclusive as possible, because then it does kind of like alter the entire dynamic, which is really shitty, like when you're living far away and feel like you're not getting invited to stuff, or you're not included, or you wonder, am I the only person not in that chat? Are there other people not in? Like, who's with, it's like, it's confusing, and it's like mind games, and I
know.
cannot.
And sometimes I feel like it sucks, because it's like, I don't know. I find like, I feel like maybe you know the feeling too, but when like, I feel like when you like, when the season goes on, it's like once February hits is when I'm like, I'm over this. I want to get the fuck out of here. I want to go. I want to go home. Like, I'm so over this. Like, I've kept busy this whole time until now, and now I'm done. And I felt like I'm just like, I'm done. And then it's like, then you see sometimes that there's like hangouts happening that you're not getting included in, and you're kind of like, okay, cool. Like, and then it's like, sometimes I can't help but think like, I wonder if like I had more of like a social group or whatever, that like maybe I wouldn't feel this way, like where I would be like, I'm ready to get out of here, because maybe I would just go with the flow and be like, oh, like it's all good, like it'll end when it ends. Because I found like in North America, like never once did I have that feeling where I was like, I'm ready for this season to end. Like, I'm ready to go home. I'm ready for this to be done. Like, that never.
Yeah.
I never like had that feeling. But then again, maybe it was because I was like a quick plane ride away. Still saw everybody. Like, I think that's why, like, it wasn't, and it's not like I'm like, I want this season to end, meaning like, I don't want them to make plan. Like, it's more just like, I want this to fast forward, and it to just be like, we 100%. Go through, we've gone through. Like, that's
like, I'm
more
ready to like get back to like my people or my family house. Like, I'm done with this. Yeah. No, I totally know.
Like, not like I'm like, I hope we lose and I want this to be over. Like, it's not that. It's more just like, I just want this to fast forward now. Like, I'm like, okay. But then I can't help but think like, I wonder if like my specific social situation, if like it was a little bit better, maybe I wouldn't have those feelings. But like, I don't know. I find it's my, like, in my brain, like, I feel like I'm trying to like say what goes on in my brain out loud, where it's like, sometimes I'm like, am I the problem, or is it because they're not including me? But then I'm like, but am I doing things to make them not include me?
That's very normal though. I have for sure had those thoughts. I'm like, am I doing something? Like, do these people not like me? And like, I think the moral even of like this conversation too is like, so many people feel this way. Like, and I see it on the check-ins constantly. And there's always like, I've had people write in being like, I'm on a team with all families and moms, and like, I feel like I don't really fit into that group. And then I've also seen like, no one invites me to anything. Like, I'm a mom, I still want to be invited. And I think it's like this like unspoken thing I just wish was more communicated, because I do think it gets very passive aggressive, especially once like the groups do get formed. Like, if you do have like a lot of people and it does start getting branched off, I feel like there gets to be kind of like this awkwardness where like,
it can 100%.
I wish it wasn't like that way, but I think you're completely normal for like having those thoughts. I've talked with many friends who have wondered the same thing. Like,
then I feel like that's kind of almost like how I find, like, when I was telling you earlier, where I'm like, oh, because right now I'm just like in such a mom mode that I don't really get to talk to a lot of adults, that like when I go to a game, I'm just so chatty, and I'm just like, blah, 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 like trying to get everything out, that like, that's what makes me be like, but why? There's no way that like they would think that I'm like, I don't know, like rude or kind of like bitchy or like standoffish, because I'm like, I feel like I'm pretty like chatty. Like, I'll kind of talk to anybody. Like, I'm not ever gonna like corner someone off and not talk to them, or like, just, you know what I mean? Because you do get those vibes sometimes, especially when you're in Europe. You get the girls that just like look at you and look away, and you're like, okay, where I'm like, that's not me. I'm never gonna do that. Like, I'm never gonna look at you and look away. I'm always going to be like, hi, how's it going? Like, how are you? Like, so I feel like that's kind of why I'm also like, that's weird. Like, I feel like I'm pretty chatty, so I don't really get why, but I don't know. I don't like, look, I don't think it's like a personal thing. I think it's like what you said. It's just like, when you don't have kids, you don't realize, you don't understand like that, like you just kind of think that they're just busy with their kids and that's not, they don't want to like do anything else. And even that opens up another chapter, like another door for me where I think that because like I am kind of like, I'm very like type A where I like kind of have to like have things a certain way. And I think sometimes that comes across as like I have everything under control and I have everything handled when it's like I don't. Like I do get really stressed out. I do get really overwhelmed. I do wish I had help for me, but I find like because I sometimes give off the illusion that like everything's fine and dandy, maybe people like some of the girls don't realize that like maybe like it's like hey like maybe like she'd want to come and get away from everything because but then people are like oh no you're like a super mom, you're doing like you're doing everything right, and it's like no not really because like but yeah like I feel like maybe like sometimes because I don't know, I'm not one to ever like make it seem like things aren't super great. I think that like maybe sometimes they just like assume everything's fine. So they're like, she's doing good. Like, oh, it's great. Like, I can't believe you have like two little so young. Like, you can do it all. And it's like, actually, no, not really. Like, but like you've never thought to like check in and ask how I'm doing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's just it. Like, we don't really have a choice. We just kind of have to like do it because we're moms and that's just what you do is like the schedule's crazy. You have to just power through. 202 is like a completely different ballpark. And it's one of those things you truly do not know unless you have experienced it and you've gone through it. And
yeah,
both of my babies were mid-season babies and it was a grind. Like if I personally could have the same exact kids and do everything the same, like I probably would have had kids either like late spring or summertime just to like give myself a buffer as like, okay, I just had a baby, but we're flying home in a month, so everything's good. But it was like, holy shit, I have a baby and now I have to live in a foreign country for 5 months before we can go home. Like that is a lot.
Yeah.
And finding your footing, living abroad with kids, with a new friend group. Like yeah. I was just like, I'm back home in San Diego right now. And I was just talking to like a couple of my friends from high school who just had their first babies. They're like about 7 months old now. And they're like, I cannot imagine having a baby and moving like what you did. Like, I literally can't imagine like what that would do to your mental health, because even finding our footing, like living here in California, like having our families live here, having our friends live here, having our house, like has been like an adjustment and a challenge. And then like imagine having to like do all that, not having the support system, not having the, you know, family, friends, everything.
Yeah.
Which I think kind of leads us into our next topic, which is just like having kids abroad. Like, how have you navigated that journey? Like, what has been challenging for you in that aspect, and what has been like, I guess, rewarding?
So, okay, so with having, it's because it's kind of interesting with the fact that like both of my babies, like it was polar opposite, which was like, so I can like legitimately compare because I had my first in Canada, I had that whole experience, and then I had my second in Switzerland. So it's like, I can genuinely be like, hey, what is the difference? And it's actually such a hot take because I would choose Switzerland any day of the week.
I think I remember you saying that.
Yeah, having a baby in Switzerland, like, okay, if we're taking out the like community around me type thing, if we're talking about the literal like part of it, it was the most like, it was, I would never, okay, so it's not like Canada is this like third world country and it's this awful place to have a baby. Like, that's not the case, but it's just like I remember because my first pregnancy was in Canada, or was all through, like the whole pregnancy was in Switzerland, and in Switzerland you get a scan every month. From 8 weeks on, you get a scan every month. And it's like, it's just such a fun experience. And like the doctor I had, he's so amazing. And when I would go, he would literally be like, get your phone out, get recording. Like, so I could like record the ultrasound, and he'd be like, you got to show your family. Like, he was so amazing about it that it made me feel so like warm and happy. And then I went home when I was 20 weeks and I had my anatomy scan in Canada. And it was so crazy. My sister had to warn me. She's like, it's not like Switzerland. Like, they're going to tell you you are not allowed to bring your phone out. You're not even going to see the screen. You're going to be sitting behind the screen and they're not going to say a word to you. And I'm like, what? And it was exactly what she told me. So luckily I was like prepared, but I just remember sitting there and I'm like, this is so like this isn't happy at all. Like, it was just so serious, and like they didn't say anything. Like, the girl wasn't even like smiling at me, and I was just like, okay, cool. Like, this is not that great. And then, but I didn't really care anyway because I was like, when my flight home, like I got to see the baby again right when I got back anyway. But still, like looking back, I'm like, oh my God, like imagine only getting 2 scans in your whole pregnancy. But I guess if you don't know any different, it's not a big deal to you. But like for me, the fact that I had all these scans, I was like, this is so bizarre. Like, how do they just have no scans? Like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And then funny because when we had my checkups leading up to having my first baby, I remember I went to my first like whatever appointment, like pretty pregnant with and my husband Mirco was with me, and we were literally, it was so bad because the doctor like took out a freaking measuring tape, which I'm sure I don't know, like were you pregnant in the States? Like did they do that too? Were
I
they like
kind of
literally
did both, as same as you. Yeah.
yeah, they literally like measured my belly with a measuring tape and they're like, yep, you're where you should be. Like everything's good. And I literally was like, I'm sorry, is this the fucking 20s? Like, what is going on? And me and Mirko both look at each other and we're like literally trying not to laugh. Like, we're like, what? And then he like brings up this like little shitty Doppler thing and you can like barely hear the heartbeat. It's just like, boop, boop, boop. And he's like, yep, it's all good. I'm like,
Wait, this is in
okay.
Switzerland, right?
No, this is in Canada. Yes, this was in Canada.
I
Like
guess
he
we
had
have
this
a
all.
different healthcare system than you guys do, though, so that could be.
Yeah. So in Canada, like it's like free, I guess, like
Yeah.
whatever. So like and it's just like you get your 2 scans, and then when you go in, they weigh you, they measure your belly, and so how like big your belly should measure, kind of it should be what week you are. So that's kind of how they make sure the baby's still like the baby's growing because your belly just gets bigger. But to me, I'm
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that is so old. Like what?
Yeah.
But then my experience having Ozzy was fine. Like I was quite lucky. My birth was like very textbook. Like it was really quick. Nothing traumatic happened. It was great. And then, but then the crazy thing is like, I felt like in Canada, like nobody would communicate with one another. So like Ozzy had a bit of jaundice when he came out, and like they were acting like he was literally dying. Like they were like, he needs to get blood work every single day. And like every day I would get a call by like a different doctor and they were like, oh, his levels are rising. Like that's not good. Like he needs to come in again for blood work tomorrow. And it was like the first week of him being born, I had to go to the hospital every single day for blood work. And then I had his first week checkup and my doctor was like, oh, yeah, he's got a little bit of jaundice, but I'm not worried about it. And I was like, are you not in the loop? Like we've been having to go to the hospital every day. His poor little heels were black, like bruised up to his like Achilles, that like tendon, because he had so many pricks that like he was literally bruised. And I'm like, were you not in the loop for this? And he was like, no, like no one said anything. So like to me, like it was just a bit frustrating because I felt like Canada was just like chaotic. Like
Yeah.
nobody knew. Like prime example, I got a phone call yesterday from the like healthcare area in where I'm from, being like, Ozzy's not up to date with his vaccinations. He hasn't had his 18-month vaccination. I'm literally like, we live in Switzerland. Like his vaccinations have been here. Like he
Yeah.
doesn't even get it there. Like I'm like, what? Like they just
Yeah.
like don't know what's going on. Again, I'm sure other people might say something different and they might be like, it was amazing. But like I just felt like that stuff felt super chaotic, where here it was just so amazing. And I felt like I was very in control, where I got to, so my biggest fear, which of course is like everyone's biggest fear, but I was super scared that I was going to go into labor when Mirko wasn't here. Like I was like, I don't want that to happen because my first birth, like when my water broke with Ozzy, I had him like 3.5 hours later. Like he came very fast. And so they were like, I've been told that once your water breaks with your second, it can be half the amount. So I'm like, cool. So an hour, like, great. Okay. So if Mirko's not
Yeah.
here and my water breaks, I'm basically screwed. So, and I can't speak
Yeah.
Italian because they speak Italian here. So I'm literally like,
Okay.
awesome. I'm going to have a freaking panic attack. Like, great.
Right.
And I remember I didn't even think it was like really an option. Because I wasn't obviously having a C-section. So I'm like, I can't plan anything.
Yeah.
And then my doctor's like, well, if you want, we can plan an induction. If you want to do that, we can choose like, what day do you? And I was literally like, what? Really? Because like in Canada, they would never do that unless you're full term in something. Like you would never get to choose to be induced unless something
Really?
was like wrong. Yeah. Like if you're like healthy and everything's good, like they're like, nope, like baby stays in until he's ready to come out. Like that's just how it goes. And so
Wow.
I thought that was wild that I got to choose when I got induced. Like I remember he was like, do you want to do it on Saturday? And I was like, oh, he has an away game that day. Can we do it on Saturday?
Perfect. He'll be here.
And he's like, you want to come in at 10 or do you want to come in at 11? And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
well, you know what? It was literally like a little coffee date that I checked in for. Like
Yeah.
it was so nice. And so
Yeah.
literally like I got to show up and it was amazing. And I was like, I want an epidural. They're like, no problem. Gave me it was like the most amazing experience. And like the hospital here, it's like a hotel. Like it's literally like a hotel. Like like I would never even touch the food at the hospitals in like Canada. Gross. Yeah. And like here, it's like literally like you have like it's this whole like freaking it's literally like room service. So to say one or the other, personally, I'm like Switzerland any freaking day of the week. Like I would have a baby here, and the aftercare too is so amazing. Like they have midwives that come to your house. So like the 1 week checkup, like they come to you and they check out the baby and they make sure everything's good. And I found here too, like they really check you out. Like they really make sure that you're okay. Where I felt like I didn't really get that in Canada, like at my checkup. But again, maybe it was because I was just like, I'm good. So they just like took my word for it. But like they didn't ask how I was doing like at all. And I breastfed with my first. Well, I pumped exclusively, which was like, I would never do that again. I don't know how I did that. That was insane of me. And this time I was like, I'm not doing it. We're doing formula and like, that's just what we're doing. And that's what works for us. And so, but like the thing, even when I was doing the pumping, nobody taught me what to do. Nobody told me what to do. I didn't get checked up on. Like it was crazy. I was like just kind of thrown out there. And then here, like they're just so on top of everything. Like they're like, they want to make sure you're good. And I don't know. I just felt like obviously the baby was really looked after, but I felt like I was really looked after, which just, yeah, like, cause
very important. Yeah.
Super important I almost didn't realize how much I didn't get looked after until I did here, like with my second. Totally. That's what made me be like, oh my God. Like it was so chaotic. But I remember for my checkup here, I literally thought, because my checkup at home, they just like looked at the baby. Also, because in Canada, your doctor is like your baby's doctor too. And like, he's like your general doctor, where here it's like, I don't know what it's like in the States, but here it's like you have your OB/GYN and then you have your like pediatrician. It's like, it's not all the same. Like everything's different here, which I think we like that in the States too, right?
Yes, it's separate.
Yeah, where in Canada it's like the same guy for everything. Yeah. At least it's the same guy. Yeah. And so here, I remember they were like, it's your 1 week checkup, and Mirco was away, or no, not 1 week, sorry, 6 week checkup for me. Oh, yeah. And I was like, oh, okay. And Mirco was gone, and my mom had come and stayed with us when Bodhi was born, but Mirco left for a game, and my mom was gone. So I had to go, and I was like, well, I have to bring the babies with me. And they were like, that's okay. I'm thinking they're just going to be like, verbally like, are you good? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, cool. Okay. Yeah, no, I had Ozzy for some reason is like triggered with doctors. Don't know why, because he's never had a traumatic experience with doctors. So whenever he sees one, he acts like he's going to die when it's like not even for him. So we get in the place and he like sees one lady that's dressed in a nurse, like in like a scrub outfit. And he's like, absolutely not. So he's like screaming, I'm wearing Bodhi. And then they're like, you have to put the baby down because we have to like do a physical on you. And I'm like, okay, cool. So at this point,
you have 2 kids under 2.
My kid screaming, my toddler's screaming, a nurse is holding my baby that is also screaming.
And you're probably sitting there just like internally like,
I'm literally sitting with nothing on in a chair. They don't even give you a gown. They don't give you a gown to cover. They're just like, get undressed, please. And I'm like, are you going to leave the room or do I go behind a curtain? But it's like so European in that way, where he's just like, take it off. Come on. And I'm like, oh my. So I'm like literally sitting here just naked, and there's so much chaos going on. And I'm like, what is my life right now? Like, what is happening?
I feel like that's just like hockey lifestyle in like a nutshell. Like not even like hospital experience, but just like that's just complete chaos at all times. Like
literally, like it was literal. Like I remember he probably thought I was like psychotic, because there was so much going on that I just started laughing. Like I literally just started laughing. I was like sitting in the chair, and I'm like what is and because I didn't choose to breastfeed with my second, they gave me medication like right after I had him that stopped my milk.
Yeah.
So they had to do an ultrasound to make sure nothing was clogged.
Yeah. So I've heard like any guest I've ever had on my podcast, like I've never heard a bad thing about having a baby in Switzerland. I do feel like it's one of the best places to have a baby, to like raise kids. Like even when we went on vacation there, I was like, I would love to like live and play here. Like it's so clean, it's so nice. Like everybody's very family oriented.
It's amazing. And like even to Literally today, we went to this place. It's so beautiful. It's like right on the water and it's like really, really pretty there. And Ozzy was kind of like not acting out, but he was just getting antsy and he didn't really want to sit in his high chair anymore. But we were still eating and he was finished his meal. The waitress literally was like, oh, and like she's like, do you mind? And she like, we were like, okay. Meanwhile, in Canada or in the States, if someone was like, do you mind? I'd be like, yeah, I do mind. Like, no. And like she literally picked him up out of the high chair and she was like walking him around and like showing him things. Like, and I'm like, this would like not happen at home. Like, this would not happen at home.
Yeah.
That's like, there's moments like that where I do also like tell myself, like as much as I do miss home and as much as I really want to be home, it's like Switzerland's such an amazing place to live. And like, there is times where I'm like, I do need to realize I am lucky that I get to live here because there is times where, like you said, it's like so family oriented here. And like, everything is just so calm and slow and there's not chaos. Like Mirko was telling me when he was a kid, and I think it's still a thing, and not so much here, but in the German part, because Mirko's from Zurich, well, outside of Zurich.
Yeah.
When he was a kindergartner, they put on penny things, and they just walk themselves to school. They'll like walk through like the city by themselves, but because they wear the pennies, like other like civilians know that like, oh, that's a kindergartner, so they just know to kind of look out for them. And I'm like, what? Like you just walked yourself to school?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah. Like I'm like, oh, did you? Like, yeah, I always came home for lunch because like we don't that's not a thing here where they like go to school with like a packed lunch.
Yeah.
Normally, like they come home for lunch, and he would like walk home, and it was like it was like a bit of a walk, and he would just walk home by himself. I'm like, that is crazy, and he's like, that's still happening. That's how kindergarten is. I'm like, wow, like that's insane.
I know. I don't think I could ever like. I'm too much of a like helicopter parent to even allow that. Even if I was living abroad, like I just don't think I could.
I know. I told Mirko that too. I was like, I personally don't think I think I would like walk him, but like crazy that they do that and that like it's safe enough to do that.
Yeah. What would you say? Do you have like any advice for someone that is raising kids abroad, that's trying to find their footing, trying to find a community? Like what has helped you?
Honestly, I don't even no, I mean, it's not like that it's a loaded question. I just think you know what? I think that my advice is that it's okay if you still haven't found your bearings because I still haven't found mine. And even though I've been here for a little bit and I'm on like the second season now as a mom because that was last year with Ozzy and now here. And I feel like I still haven't really figured out what to do, but I feel like that's okay. Like you don't need to put pressure on yourself to like have it sorted and figured out when you go to another country. And you don't have to be able to have a friend group of moms right away or be able to like get involved with everyone right away. And I feel like if you don't, like, that's okay. You don't need to stress out about it because there's even times where I'm like, oh, sometimes like I wish like I feel like I need to like push myself to kind of create more of like a whatever, like a little community for myself here, even for like my kid's sake, because it's like, he's kind of alone a lot and like it's just us all the time. And I don't really doesn't get to interact with a lot of kids all the time, which I know eventually he will. He'll start kindergarten and then it'll go together. But I just feel like it all comes in time and it's like you don't need to stress out over it and you don't need to like force it to happen. Because I feel like that's what I have to tell myself right now.
I like that though, because I think we do put a lot of pressure on ourselves. And like I did an episode on this like shortly after I moved to England, but it was just like we don't always have to figure it out in a week, in a month, in a year. I mean, I'm like 7 years in abroad and I'm just like, I still don't know. No one has it figured out. Like we're all just like doing the best we can. We're all living away. We're all trying to make new friends.
Totally. And I even feel like outside of like having kids at like just being older, not older, but you know what I mean? Like just being an adult, like not being like 20. It is a lot harder to make good girlfriends and to be able to actually connect with someone because sometimes it's like, yeah, you can be nice and you can be able to have like a chat with someone, but sometimes like it takes a bit to be able to kind of like actually properly click with someone and like have like the same interest and kind of start to gain like a trust with them and a friendship with them like that take some time, and like you can't force it, and it's okay if it doesn't happen right away. Or if you do put yourself out of your like comfort zone and you go and meet up with someone, and maybe it was nice to meet up with them, but they weren't really like someone that you think you would like always hang out with. It's like, that's fine. That doesn't mean like, oh, like great, now I don't have any. It's like, because that's happened to me too, where I have been like, okay, you know what, like this person has asked me a few times to hang out with like the kids, even like maybe I should just do it. And then I have done it. I've never like regretted doing it, but I'm like, oh, okay, like they were super sweet, but like not, I don't know if I would necessarily hang out with them again. And like, that's fine. Like it doesn't.
Yeah. It's kind of like a feeling that you get. Like I try to explain this to my husband too, like not even about friendships, but just in general. I'm like, there is something that your body physically does. And that's your answer. Like if someone asks me to hang out and I like draw back, like it's like a little like pull back almost, like even just like an inch. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that. Or I'll be like, ooh, like you lean forward if you want to like do something, like you get like an excited feeling. And I'm like, that's your gut feeling. Like, and it's okay to like, I've told myself this too. I'm like, it's okay for me to admit like, oh, I don't necessarily like click with that person. I like that person. Totally fine.
Yeah, like nothing wrong with that.
But I don't need to like put pressure on myself to like try to make it work if it isn't, like, you know what I mean? Because at this stage in our lives where we are moms of young kids, it's like we don't have a lot of extra time and like especially energy, and like you want to be around people that like make you feel good, and that is kind of like a natural flowing connection.
Of course.
So,
and I also feel like with hockey too, it's like, it's okay if you don't vibe with, not that you don't like them, but it's okay if you don't like vibe. It's like with the amount of girls that are on teams, say there's like, I don't know, like 20 girls on the team, not everyone's going to just click and be buddies. And like, that's absolutely normal. And I also find like, for me, it's like, it's okay too if like you're just kind of in that season with yourself where maybe like you're just kind of focusing on your family and your kids and you're just kind of in your own little bubble, and like that's okay. Like I feel like right now that's where I'm at, and like I'm sure eventually that's not going to be the case. Like I'm sure eventually maybe someone will come along where like, I don't know, like we click right away, our kids click right away, and everything's good. And that doesn't mean that there's like that I don't like people on the team or anything like that. It's just like you said, like you just haven't had that like gut click yet. And like, that's fine. I just feel like I don't, like I almost have to tell myself that it's like, you don't need to beat yourself up over that and like force yourself, especially abroad, like especially being overseas where you are really far. So it's like, it's almost like the selection slim. So you feel like you kind of have to like force yourself to click with someone, but it's like, it's fine if I don't, like, I'm not, like, I'm okay. Like, I'm not, it's not like I'm like 15 years old again and I like need a girlfriend and I, you know what I mean? I've got my like little circle and my little bubble of my kids and my husband, and I'm okay. And if somebody comes along, that'd be amazing, but if not, it's all good.
Like, right. No, totally. I was going to say, so your season ended yesterday, right?
Yes, it ended last night, which honestly, in hindsight, I like so scatterbrained. It was honestly so good that we did reschedule because we would have been talking and I would have had the game in the background.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, that's perfect. So what is next for you guys? Like what are in the cards for the next few months? Like what do you have going on?
So now I always feel so bad for Mirco because right when the season ends, I swear I'm like, let's go. Like, let's go home. I want to get, you know what I mean? Like I'm just, especially this specific season because of the fact that like so many people haven't met my second. So I'm like, let's get out of here. But then it's funny because another, like going way back to what you said with the difference with NHL and at least the Swiss League. I don't know if like your husband's teams did it too. They like all of a sudden here, they do like a team trip at the end of the year. And I'm like, what is that? Like, no, that's like absolutely not. Because in the NHL, they never had that. They never went on a trip.
We've never been on a team where they've done that, but I have heard of that. And let me tell you, after the travel and the chaos of the season, if my husband took off for a week to go to like Majorca or something, I would be like, bye. No, I'm getting on a plane and going home.
I mean, it's never like a week. It's always quick. It's always like maybe like 2 nights or whatever. But like, yeah, Mirco said that like the other night, he's like, yeah, there might be a guy's trip. And I was like, well, you're not going on it.
I'm with you. Solidarity.
Do you know how many nights, like prime example, like tonight when I literally was like, I pre-backed them. They were good to go. I was like, you just have to give Bodhi his bottle and you have to put them to bed. Literally 5 minutes in, he comes downstairs and he's like, he's not taking the bottle. I got to give him to you. Like, he's not taking it. He's like, Ozzy won't sit down on the bed and he won't watch the movie. I'm like, funny because I do this alone every night.
Yeah. How do you think I survive?
Yeah, because even when he has home games, like I don't go because they're so late here. Like that's another thing too. The games are always at 7:45 or 8 o'clock, which
Yeah.
like that is just so late. So I don't go very often.
Yeah.
So like even the nighttime routines, like I'm always doing it by myself. So that's what makes me laugh. I'm like, you can give him a bottle, like you're
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
When he tells me like, yeah, there might be like a guy's trip, I'm like, no, there is not.
Yeah. Well, we're coming. We're either coming or you're not going. So that's exactly
Yeah.
what
Yeah. I'm like the fact that you can't even give him a friggin' bottle, like you're no,
Yeah.
like that's not. So yeah, that's our plan. We'll head back. And then another thing too here, which is kind of crazy, is their like camp starts like quite early compared to NHL. Like I remember in NHL we would kind of like pack up and start to arrive like beginning of September. And then obviously season would start like I think it was like what mid October. And here it's kind of crazy. So you have to show up like you have to like be here by August 1st. So most like, well, no, every team's a little bit different. Like some of the dates are a little bit different. Here it's always like July, like 27th. But
Yeah.
the season doesn't start till like very, very end of September or like beginning of October.
Yeah.
But you have to be end of July. So it's like you're there for quite a so it feels so that's also why like when February hits, you're kind of like, okay, because it's like you've been for so long. Like you've been there since end of July. So it does feel like a long time. So I feel like we've kind of discussed a little bit where I'm like, maybe it would be better if like I come with the boys kind of right before the actual season starts. Cause like they're also gone a lot for the preseason.
Like
they
training
go
camp.
on, yeah, like they have to like go like they do this a lot of teams go and have like a bonding trip where they like go up into the Alps and do shit. I don't know what they do, but like they go for a few days.
Aren't they together enough? Like
I'm like, how many bonding trips do you need? How long do you have to go? Like, I'm like, no. So that's why this year I'm like, maybe I should just stay back a little longer. And he was like, yeah, that's fair. But this year he was like, I couldn't last year because I was so pregnant. Like I literally had to, or they wouldn't have let me on the airplane. So I had to stay.
The guys' nights too. I'm just like, okay, but you guys go on the road together and then you're like together for 2 days and then you're together every single day and you have one day off a week apart from each other. Why do we need to now have a guys' night on your day off where now, like, I can't. Like, I'm all for like the guy, like the bonding. Like, I get that. I understand why that's important. But like, you guys are literally on the road at the same hotel. Like, do your bonding there.
Really, like when he's like, he's like, we might do a guy trip. I'm like, aren't you sick of one another? Like I would be.
Yeah,
like my
it's
soul
a little much.
it would be so thin. Like, and especially with Mirco, like my husband's not like the most social person. Like if anybody knows him, like they would laugh at our dynamic because I'm like, blah, 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 and Mirco's like very much like very quiet. And he's kind of lucky that he's quiet because like I find he can get away with like, like 9 out of 10 people don't realize if he like doesn't like someone because he's just already quiet. But they'll be like, oh, like, so it's kind of lucky. He's kind of lucky in that way because like I don't know if any of my friends does Mirco like me, and it's like they'll never know because whether because he's just quiet altogether. So I find like I'm like he also like I'm like your social battery like runs thin so easy. So like aren't you sick of everybody? Because I would be. I'd be like, no, I'm not going.
Right, exactly.
Like I sit beside you on a freaking bus and like I see you every morning and every day.
Yeah.
Like he's like, well, I can't not go. I don't know.
Yeah,
so
like
we'll see. We'll see whatever happens with that.
Optional mandatory is like what it is.
Yeah.
Like it's optional, but if you don't go, you look like you don't
It's like
go.
you're a loser, don't go.
Yeah. So yeah, that dynamic, I'm like, okay, we're good with that. Like we don't need to talk about hockey personally, but
yeah. So I'm excited to just get back to Canada at this point.
Yes.
Like
well
have a break from hockey.
Yes. Now you gotta go home, you gotta have your family and friends and everyone meet your little one and just have a little nervous system regulation. But thank you for coming on the podcast. It was so fun talking to you finally. And if people want to reach out to you or message you or follow along with you guys, where can they find you?
On my Instagram most of the time, yeah.
Okay, perfect.